You're listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. Before we get started, make sure you check us out on social media at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And you can always email us podcast@iishooting.com. This is episode 151 of Range Minded, where we talk about what you can expect when you get back into the range after a long time away, both good and bad, which can include ammo shortages, policy changes, and a whole lot of other things. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy episode 151 of Range Minded, the things to expect after a long time away from the range. Hello and welcome to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. My name is Mark Long and I am joined live and in the flesh.
I am here in person.
By Steve Zimmerman.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
I drove all night last night.
Jet lag from your trip?
Suburban lag.
Yeah, crossing the Great Divide of Idaho.
Yeah, I know how the pioneers
you came
felt.
Incognito. You didn't even drive your truck this time. None of us knew you were even here.
Yeah, so my truck's obviously a gun guy truck. Like, it's obviously a way to tell.
Oh, is it?
But the Suburban, yeah, it's
Low profile.
It's like an FBI wagon. You can't tell.
It's all black with black steel wheels weighted down from the bulletproof windows.
Push bumper in the front.
Yeah, totally low key. No big deal. So
gun slots in the doors.
we are also joined, as you heard, by Nick Hoffer as well of Hofdak Industries. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great. I'm always good when we're here in studio, in person.
It is way nicer.
It is. It is nice to see your faces in person.
I don't hear that very often.
Well, you still haven't grown back that goatee, so I can't look directly at you.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Well, long story.
It must be a short story.
I see you did there.
Well, see, he's got the dad jokes this time.
I got to shave that story down a little bit.
Yeah, we're actually coming to you from the fun room at Independence Indoor Shooting.
And we have a guest. It's okay. You do what you got to do.
Guess not.
Or
Is
walk
that a
out.
dartboard?
No, it's a whiteboard.
Oh, sorry. Squirrel.
Squirrel.
And we do have my wife here today, but she's not here. She will not talk. And
No,
she doesn't even want me to
We've
mention
been
that
trying
she's
to
here.
get her on here for an interview for how long
She
now?
was on.
She came on once.
Oh, that was when I was gone. She was on.
yeah.
I remember
Yeah, we
that.
tested
You
her out
missed out.
to replace you, and she didn't want to. She didn't want the job.
Second chances.
No, Chelsea is providing moral support from the background and also timing us. So,
Peanut gallery.
Yeah.
Yes, Steve
Yeah, I'm on a
has to go
slight
to a
tight-
cheerleading competition. I think.
I am cheering tonight.
Yeah.
And you look great in your cheerleading outfit right now. I want to let you know.
Well, I wish they wouldn't have made those spankies so short, but
Well.
that little skirt barely covers the cheeks that fall out the
I
bottom.
always thought that a high and tight ponytail was required, but I guess not, huh?
I did high and tight. There's no ponytail at all.
It's so high and tight it's disappeared. So yeah, but it's great to be here in person, and we are not going to talk about cheer camp today.
No, thank goodness.
Because I got the idea that we're back in the range. It's the first time this year I think that the three of us have been together.
Yep.
So I thought it would be good to talk about maybe you getting back in the range and then just kind of getting back into the shooting sports a little bit, because I think most people have taken a big break, or maybe they bought a firearm, their first firearm, and they never really got a chance to shoot it because ammo is so expensive.
Yeah.
So wanted to kind of go over maybe some drills and stuff you can go through to get back into the range kind of way of things, and maybe some practice, because as we've talked about, shooting skills are a depreciating skill. They go away if you don't use them, and so you might be a little more
Indeed.
rusty than you think.
Yeah, and there's something I wanted to bring up, kind of along the lines of this, but kind of not. So you mentioned ammunition. Hard to get. When you find it, it's expensive.
Sure is.
So there's been a little bit of consternation recently about ammo prices. And I just wanted to touch on this. Sometimes people don't understand how distribution works
Hang
compared
on.
to...
Are ammo prices not correspondent with fuel prices? I feel like anytime fuel prices go up, so do
So does ammo.
prices.
There's a correlation there.
Yeah.
Probably has to... Never mind. We won't get into that line of talk. But so... We do have ammo. We have a fair bit of ammo out there.
Sure.
But the price may be a little bit more than you're expecting. And there's been some very negative comments addressed towards the store. And I just want to address this real quick.
Sure.
And maybe I'm out of line with management. But so when our costs go up, we do the best that we can to get what we can get when we get it. So recently the ammo we got came from overseas. And it was not cheap for us to get, but it was the only thing we could get. So we're not gouging prices. We've actually cut our profit margins on ammo a lot.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of other places have had to do that to stay in business, because it does get to a point where it's too expensive, people won't buy it. But you have to make that, you have to have that balance.
And we're a store. We have overhead, we have employees, we have insurance, we have a range to run. All that stuff adds up. And it's not because, I don't say that because we want as much money from you as possible. Because obviously, how stupid would it be?
That's fine. Whatever money you're not giving to the range, I'll take.
Yeah, I'll take it too. but it would be stupid for us to price our customers out of the store. That makes no sense.
Right.
But sometimes the stuff that we buy is expensive. Mm-hmm. And we got to ship it here. We got to pay the staff to get it on the floor. I mean, all that stuff costs money. So be patient. We're not trying to steal people's money. I promise.
It's just going to be expensive everywhere.
It is what it is. And they say, well, manufacturers aren't really raising prices, which they are. But the problem is
15% increase by the end of this month, all across from manufacturers
in cost.
Yep.
And then you have to go from manufacturer, because we don't buy direct from manufacturer. We buy from distribution. So there's a middleman.
Right.
And the middleman raises his prices because he's got to make money. So sure, maybe manufacturers really aren't raising their price that much, but because distribution is flooded with millions and millions of requests for ammunition across the country, their prices go up too. And we do what we can to keep those prices down, but sometimes it's inevitable and we have to.
Well, and we've talked before too. I mean, it kind of goes back to simple supply and demand, where it's
really
hard
is basic
to come by.
economics.
It's hard to come by, and so when there's less of a supply, the demand goes up and more people want it. And when you have more demand on top of that, it's like the perfect storm of why ammo is so expensive. And I think, if you look online, you might be able to find some or whatever, but then again, you might not be able to. It might be sold out everywhere. So if the only place you can get it is, your local gun shop, there's a reason, because it's sold out everywhere else. So
yeah. So be patient. We really aren't trying to take your money and giggle all the way to the bank. It doesn't work that way for us. But hopefully soon there'll be more ammunition. Honestly, if people just didn't buy ammo for a week, that would change the dynamic of availability and cost a lot.
Well, I've been not buying ammo for a couple months.
I have not been buying. I'm with you.
I showed up late today, so I didn't get to go see if there was any ammo left out there, but I have stacks and stacks of 25-cent quarters in my pocket right now.
Yeah.
Is that going to get me far?
You're going around with Uncle Scrooge in your little money bag walking around.
4 quarters will get you 1 round.
Well, the soda machine over there took my $5 bill and gave me $4.75 back. So I figured I'd
Does that feel like you were in Vegas?
Yeah, it actually felt better because they only give you paper tickets now in Vegas. You don't even get coins.
Really?
That's lame.
That's
Oh
weird.
man, how long has it been since you guys played a slot machine?
A while.
A while.
I remember going there as a kid with my grandma, and she would play the nickel machines, and then you'd hit that win jackpot, whatever it was.
And
she win $5 worth of nickels, and it
then
was
all
like
the
ding,
coins,
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just pretend now. It makes the noise, but it prints out a ticket.
That's lame.
That's not nearly as
Yeah,
fun.
I
the fun out of it.
When I was old enough to go and play a slot machine and it spit me out a ticket, I was like, I'm never doing this again. It's not as fun. You don't get to walk around with a bowl of quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'd probably buy 1 round of ammo for 50 cents. I mean, not even now, huh? Like, I probably need $1.
Yeah, probably not so
It is
much.
expensive, and I understand. It's way more than what we're used to paying.
Yeah, and that's something I think, that's a perfect segue, because that's probably one of the first things you're going to want to expect going into a range if you haven't been into one in a while, is that not only I think our ammo price is going to be more expensive just across the board, but there's going to be less of it. You may actually have to... You may only be able to buy a certain amount of boxes.
Yeah, usually there's a restriction on how many boxes you can buy per day.
Yep. Yeah, or I think some places are saying that you have to shoot it here if we're going to sell you more than X amount of boxes or something.
Well, I haven't heard that. That's kind of lame.
That just sounds like a good way to waste ammo in the range.
Yeah.
You can buy 100 boxes as long as you shoot 98 of them here.
I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but I think I've seen that around. So
yeah, and it's definitely true, like what you're saying. If you haven't been to a gun store in a range in a while, you're probably going to be disappointed when you walk through the doors.
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. Is I was going to say there's going to be probably less product just overall to look at.
Yeah, I mean, walking around here today, we got a lot of bags, a lot of apparel and stuff like that. But as far as I gravitate to the used gun counter. That's just where I go.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to see there.
Well, I just went through and did inventory in the holster department here, and it's looking a little cleaned out. So
I mean, that you could probably attribute that to all the new people buying guns and wanting to carry, and hopefully at least. I don't know where else they'd be going.
I don't know. So when you show up, you will be unhappy with the selection of ammo and the selection of firearms.
yeah, but the T-shirt selection here is on point right now. I was looked at a couple new Magpul T-shirts and all the new Independence shirts
I
out
haven't seen
there.
the Magpul shirts out there.
Oh, dude, you got to go through.
Close enough.
Yeah.
You're saving enough money not buying guns while you're here this time. You might as well buy
I do need
a
t-shirts.
couple
T-shirts.
$100 in T-shirts.
As I look at my wife, I do
We're
need
popular
t-shirts.
today. Come on in. Do what you got to do.
Oh, this guy.
So we got shoved in a closet basically. So there'll be periodic interruptions from employees, and then they look at us like
They keep bringing me guns, so.
Yeah.
it's Dakota. Everybody remembers Dakota.
Yeah. Say hi, Dakota.
Hi, everybody.
Remember him from him episode? Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because we're during store hours today, which is a little unusual for us. But so yeah, you're not gonna see as much ammo firearms wise. And it may be that's a bummer. Well, it is a bummer.
It is a bummer.
It may be that you may not see like other accessories, like Nick said, like holsters or soft goods or anything like that. So just be prepared.
Yeah.
I would say to start with that, which is unfortunate. And look at us starting negatively.
I don't think it's necessarily so much a negative. It's just a reality.
It's realistic, yeah. But as long as where you're at, you're able to go shoot. You can still go shoot.
Yeah.
So. And I think it's important. I mean, if it's been a year since you've shot,
Yeah.
it might be good to just even refamiliarize yourself with a firearm, or if you've not gotten a chance to shoot a brand new firearm and you're a new gun owner,
Yeah.
I would highly suggest at least taking a box of 50 rounds, which I think that's something that you should think about too, is that make your ammo last longer.
Yeah. And I've been wanting to, I don't know why I haven't done it, but I've been wanting to create a shooting drill, to hone in on your skills with just one box of ammo, because you can actually do a lot with 50 rounds.
Yeah.
If you pace yourself right, and there's a lot you can do. And I would recommend too, and maybe we've talked about this before, I don't remember, just getting some good dummy rounds, because you can work on a lot with 50 rounds and then 5 or 10 dummy rounds mixed in there.
Yeah, we've talked about diagnosing and correcting flinching and stuff with dummy rounds, where you mix the live and dummy rounds in a magazine, or so you don't kind of have somebody else do it, and then give them that magazine, and then you can see if somebody's actually flinching or not, so you can actually work on those skills. It's not necessarily as fun as getting hundreds of rounds down range or whatever, but you can still shoot and maintain your skills, but just be smart about it.
Yeah.
So speaking of training with dummy rounds and alternative ways of shooting and drills and whatnot, so I've talked about it before of using the 22 conversions for the Glocks, and that's typically how I like to train, is one box of 9mm and a couple hundred rounds of 22 long rifle. Well, being now that those are starting to fall off the shelf as well, I've started considering, I don't know if you guys have checked out the new Glock airsoft gun.
No.
Is it a Umarex, or who's making it?
I don't remember who's making it, but it's one of the only Glock
it's a 1-to-1.
It's certified by Glock to use their name and everything.
Wow.
It fits the Glock holsters.
That's been my complaint with some of the others.
So I just ordered one. I think I ordered mine from RSR, so I'm not sure who made it, but I just ordered one, and I'm going to start doing some training with that. So 5 rounds of one magazine, so 15 rounds of 9mm, and then directly into however many rounds I need for my drills and airsoft, which granted, you don't get the recoil and you don't get the live rounds on target like I would with the 22 long rifle, but I can mix that in. Start out with live rounds, do the drills with the airsoft, and then before I finish it out 2 or 3 mags of live rounds, because I'm still getting the draw stroke, I'm still getting the sight acquisition, I'm still getting the feel. It is blowback, so you still get the slide movement. A little bit of a
slide movement.
And obviously you don't get the weight, but my plan is to add some extra weight to the gun itself, to see if I can replicate that, kind of like it did with my Ultimate 22 build, and do it that way, because we're not going to run out of CO2 cartridges and plastic BBs anytime soon.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm actually starting to really jones about getting some airsoft stuff, because this is nothing to do with the range visit, does it? But there's there's a lot can be said for airsoft training. T-Rex Arms did a couple of awesome videos.
Yeah.
Travis Haley has an awesome video about doing that kind of stuff. There's some definite benefits.
Well, and that I think goes back to, actually it does go back to the range visit a little bit where, you don't have to have a magazine full of ammo and shoot 15 rounds at a time. You can have 1 or 2 and maybe work on your magazine changes. Or, like Nick said, you can work on your holster draw if you wanted to do that, if you're, allowed to do that in your range or whatever. You can do some failure drills. You can do that, some kind of, I guess for lack of a term, the boring stuff, but the basics that really help you dial in those skills, not just the shooting part, but the reloading, the actual manipulation of the firearm.
Yeah, the movements are what you can really practice when it comes to the not real guns. So if you want to practice the movements, like I use blue guns in the shop, we use airsoft, and then we go to the range and we use 22, the Taxel conversions for the Glock, and then real 9mm. So if you combined all of that as well as dummy rounds and dry fire, like there's a lot of training that you can do and not blowing through a lot of ammunition. I mean, I haven't busted out my full auto AR pistol in almost a year because we can't blow through ammunition. I mean, you can blow through a couple $100 in about 5 minutes on that thing. But I have shot the full auto 22 a couple of times. Not going to happen now because I can find 9mm for the same price as 22. So now we're going to go on to airsoft. I'm going to find a couple of really good airsoft rifles. I ordered those pistols for the shop, and we'll see how the training goes with that. But just getting that practice. I mean, you can shoot those at home in the backyard. You can set up traps in the garage. It's almost gives you a little bit more by running the airsoft than it does live rounds.
Well, there's, like you're saying, there's not as many restrictions of where to use them. And so you can set up a little tiny range in your basement or your backyard, like you're saying.
Right, yeah.
But I think you're 100% right on movements, whether that's manipulating the firearm, doing mag changes, transitions between rifle to handgun, learning how to actually defend your home, like moving around in your home without having a real gun in your hand. So when the time comes, you understand how to get from here to there.
I always just tell people this: get yourself a shotgun, double-barreled shotgun.
You got a problem
you hear
over
someone
there?
breaking into your house? Just step outside.
2 blasts.
2 blasts in the air.
Yeah.
Don't worry if you have neighbors.
Yeah, that's true. You could just 2 blasts is all it takes.
2 blasts, and they're gonna take off running.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Sounds pretty close.
Sounds pretty accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all you're going to need.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Oh boy.
I think it's funny.
You see, you fell down today, right?
No, I didn't.
You know what? I got a bunch of videos on Instagram of Joe Biden riding the escalator thing up the stairs to Air Force One. I was like, oh, that's funny. That's fun. And I'm like, why do I keep getting sent this? Like, I probably got the same reel on Instagram like 20 times today. And then I saw Rob from Boise Black Rifle posting a bunch of pictures of that same. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm scrolling through right before I came here, and I saw this like breaking news.
Yeah.
President Biden falls down multiple times. And I go, oh, that's got to be fake.
No, he fell down 3 times.
And so I had to actually, and he fell down the stairs getting into Air Force One.
And I'm not, that part's
It's not funny.
Yeah, that's
It's not funny.
Actually, I think it's...
The reel was funny
it's
because I
sad
thought it
and
was
disturbing.
fake.
Yeah. It's just sad that... And okay, I'm going to put this out too. I don't like Joe Biden. There's no question about it. But he's still the president, and you shouldn't mock him for... He's falling apart. Like, I think he's well seasoned, and I'm a little worried about his health.
Well, one of the article that I saw was it showed him falling down, and it said, does anyone remember when the fake news tore Donald Trump apart for using the handrail to climb the stairs to go into Air Force One? Do you think that we'll see anything on mainstream media about Joe Biden falling down the stairs while holding the handrail?
No, probably not.
Like, for one, he was walking up the stairs by himself, and he didn't have anyone help. And obviously, he has some issues getting around. We've all seen that.
Yeah.
Like, somebody should have been there to help him before he fell.
Well, he's posturing. He doesn't want to look like a weak president, especially... I mean, there's a lot of stuff
Well,
going on.
I mean, he probably shouldn't speak anymore if that's the case.
Let's get back to range talk, shall we?
Yeah, where were we?
That was a small in the weeds
That's
moment.
okay. It happens. Talking about going through your house and
movement with airsoft.
Yeah, and being able to do that, I think is smart. And honestly too, even maybe this might be a little too crazy, but teaching your kids about gun safety with airsoft firearms, or blue guns, maybe not the real thing. You could there's all kind of some possibilities you can use with airsoft. So I think there's a lot of value in there. And then you mentioned the 22 conversion kits. They make those for AR-15s, I think, too.
Yes.
Even though it's hard to find 22, maybe it's easier to find it where you're at.
We actually have a couple of the CMMG conversions here.
Yeah, and they're not too terribly expensive.
Yeah.
They're not cheap, but, I'd say
it's cheaper than a gun right now.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and the nice thing about AR, another deep in the weeds moment, or somewhat in the weeds, the nice thing about an AR conversion is you're not swapping the upper out or anything. You're just changing the bolt carrier group and the magazine.
Yeah, everything works exactly the same way. So I think it's pretty cool.
When I was doing a lot of those when I worked over at Taxel, I would always tell people, you can take these conversions and you can set them up exactly the same as what you would set up the rifle that you're going to carry, that you're going to use, especially if you're law enforcement, military, some sort of security. Like you can set up those conversions exactly the way that you are going to carry them on duty or for a defensive situation. Lights, lasers, compensators, any of that stuff, weight wise, like you can set them up exactly the same way.
Yeah, it'll feel one for one.
Yeah, exactly, one for one, and you're still putting lead on target and seeing where you're hitting.
Yeah, that's the beauty about the 22. But again, it's getting a little harder to find. So, so what else do you think you'd want to expect coming into a range besides not having as much selection? I think as things open up, you're going to probably expect to wait more. Yeah. Or you're going to have by appointment, maybe or kind of reservation. I know that some places in Illinois do that,
and I wouldn't be surprised. And it will. I guess we don't. Maybe we don't do it here. I haven't really noticed. I haven't really walked back into the range since I've been here. But there might be some, washing stations going into the range, hand sanitizer, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
we're not enforcing any kind of a mask mandate in the store, but some ranges might.
Yeah, depending on where you're at.
I tried to come in with my ski mask, and Levi told me I couldn't. So
I don't know why. It was a nice ski mask, but and it's up to you. Like, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. And honestly, and I get it. If you don't think masks are important, whatever, that's fine. That's up to you. But if it's range policy, then maybe you should, if you want to keep shooting at the range, maybe you should follow that policy.
Yeah,
it's up to you. I'm not telling you how to do it.
It's definitely not the range policy here.
No, it's not here.
No, but it's depending.
But there might be some ranges that are
states
absolutely that's required. And
even it's up to the owner, I guess.
It's a private business thing, and so they have the right to do what they want to do, and you have the right to protest it if you want to. It's
sure,
fine. Whatever.
Well, you guys are tiptoeing around that pretty good.
I don't like wearing masks. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like wearing masks. I think they're. I think it's a talisman. It's nothing really that exciting. But some people, that's fine. If you feel like you need to wear a mask, wear a mask. I don't care.
Like
just don't tell me I have to.
It's up to the business or whatever at this point. But, I think, like I said, as things are opening up, you're not necessarily going to have to worry about that as much because if you think about it, ranges are kind of social distance anyway. There's a big divider usually among each lane anyway.
And should be good airflow.
Better ventilation,
cleaner air than outside.
Yeah. So, I think there's going to be a surge of more people wanting to come shoot.
And I really hope so. And I think that's something you probably will need to expect as things open up. People are tired of being inside. They want to do things. We're seeing that a little bit on the eastern side of the state where things are opening up, where people just are sick and tired of being inside. Yeah,
and especially as it gets warmer, I think if you're going to see like outdoor, maybe public ranges or whatever, where there's no kind of, sign up or mandate or anything like that, depending on the public land situation where you're at. But you could expect to wait a long time, if people filled it up and that's it,
Yeah.
So I would expect that. But also I think in terms of just shooting in general, it might not be how you remember it. I don't know. You're not going to necessarily be as good as you think you might be. I don't know. It sounds kind of condescending, but I don't think any of us would be.
No. Like we said, it's a perishable thing. And if you don't practice, whether it be a blue gun or airsoft or whatever, or you dry fire, you're going to lose those skills.
Yeah. So I would say maybe don't go 100 miles an hour from 0 to 100. You know, if you remember doing, quick draw, holster stuff and movement and all that, if you're on an outdoor range or public land or whatever, maybe dial it back a couple degrees. It's just like with like weightlifting or exercise or whatever. If you haven't exercised in a year and you used to be...
Why did you look at me when you said that?
I just looked around. I said the collective you.
Oh, now I'm more than one.
Steve and Steve plus.
Thanks.
If you're used to deadlifting 200 pounds or something like that or more and you haven't done it in a year.
Because I'm fat and 200 pounds?
I just looked right at Nick.
Oh, man, if you can't deadlift 200 pounds, Steve.
Every day when I stand up.
Exactly. That's
you want to dial it back a little bit and maybe just start from scratch again. I mean, and especially with, I know that ammo's, like you said, scarce, but it might be good to make sure you still have those fundamentals or see if there's something that maybe, a skill that didn't stick around. So, and even just from a safety perspective too, I would say, especially if you're working with holsters and stuff like that and, you're not kind of well practiced in that or new to it,
Yeah. And maybe that's a good way to suggest maybe taking a class again.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was just going to say that is maybe kind of refamiliarize yourself, get a refresher class or take a beginner or intermediate pistol class again and kind of get back into the swing of things that way.
So speaking of that, I do know a couple of the instructors that I've been working with are offering classes for low ammunition training.
I saw Raul had a
That's
class.
exactly what he just did one last Saturday. He had sent a bunch of people in for holsters last week, and he was telling me that he was focusing on how to train with less ammo. Around 25 rounds was about all they shot at the range that day in a 4-hour class.
And Raul, if you guys don't know who Raul Garcia is, look him up on Instagram or find him anywhere. I know Nick finds a lot of guys on Instagram.
He's got a lot of friends. A lot of friends on Instagram.
No, but Raul he's a stud. That guy is so cool. And he's an awesome instructor.
Yeah, and he's going full-time instructing in April. So he's kind of been building up his kind of academy that he's got going on. 22 years for Ada County Sheriff's Department here in Idaho, and he's just built up his training for them. My first concealed carry class was with him 15 years ago.
Wow.
And he's done more than just Ada County. He's
worked for...
We have some mutual friends, Raul and I, and that's how I first got to know Raul. He's done some cool stuff in his life.
Yeah, he's worked for some federal agencies. He's worked for local law enforcement. Mm-hmm. He's done some contracting work for law enforcement. And his thing is his training is more he has law enforcement training that he does for people who are law enforcement, but he'll sit right in your enhanced class and he'll tell you the way I train officers and the way I train even an officer for civilian carry is totally different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
The law enforcement military requirement that people think you need to have, he goes, it's not the same. We're not teaching you how to breach doors. We're not teaching you how to we're not teaching you how to sweep the neighbor's house to look for intruders. We're not kicking down doors.
Yeah.
I'm showing you how to defend yourself at McDonald's, how to defend yourself at the bank, at the grocery store, in your own home, how to protect your children and your spouse. It's a whole different story than what he would do when he's on duty, and he sits back and explains all of that.
Yeah, the scenarios are different, and so the kind of the procedures and the way your thought process, I think, would change too. And that's, I was going to say, something is with a class or whatever that can help get you, I think, back into the frame of mind of shooting and remind you of kind of the responsibility of it, especially with concealed carry, and helping you kind of, realize that again or learn more from that. Because I've noticed that too with, taking classes and learning about just the mindset and all that, I feel gives me a lot more confidence in handling a firearm, even just with thought process and being mindful of that,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that might be a great way. So see if, people are still offering classes. And I think, like you said, Nick, low ammo count classes, gone, I think, are the days of any classes where you're going to find 250, 300 rounds.
Well, I think it really depends on who or what the class is geared towards.
Sure.
Because there are some, like Tim Kennedy's still doing big round classes, and I mean, you're still going to find
Yeah, the
high
big
round
deal
count
people
classes.
and
But obviously the purpose of those low round count classes are to cater to the climate right now, and I think it's an asset, and you're going to find more of those classes. Like I said, I need to finish doing my thing. You're going to see more of that stuff around.
well, and I don't think that they're going to go anywhere anyway, because I think, to us, 254 to 400, 500 rounds isn't a lot, but to maybe somebody who's brand new to the gun world, like, oh my God, I need 500 rounds like for this class. Like, what are we going to do? That might be intimidating. It might be a hurdle for them, but if they see it's only 25 or 50 rounds or something like that, that might make it more accessible.
I remember the couple of times that I hosted Chris Costa here, and it was 2-day class, $800 and 1,000 rounds for the 2 days. And now I don't think that people would pay for that class anymore.
No,
No, because you wouldn't be able to find 1,000 rounds as it was anyway.
even if it was Costa, they'd
Yeah.
no.
Well, I think that he's lost some of his clout. Back then, it didn't matter what the price was. We could get the 15 people we needed for the class.
When I talked to him last time, I SHOT Show 2 years ago, whatever it was, we talked to him.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago? Anyway, yeah, he was really interested in coming to the range and doing some stuff, but he never.
Didn't happen.
Yeah,
Well, you should call him.
I do have his card actually.
See,
He'd be like, "Who the hell are you?"
Steve who?
that's because you shaved your goatee. He wouldn't recognize you.
Oh, man. He's not going to let that one go, is he?
It'll be back one day.
Also, are you going to be in Mandalorian this season?
No, since they fired my friend, I'm not.
Well, they didn't fire your body double.
Yeah, Bill Burr is going to show back up with his Rugers on his shoulders.
I'm surprised he didn't quit. Actually, I'm surprised they didn't fire him too, because he stood up for. Man, we are really going all over the place.
Well, he left. I think his character kind of went and kind of did his
Meandered on
thing.
his own
And
thing.
Yeah, but he could still come back. He just ran
could,
off
yeah.
after they let him free for helping out.
That's true. That is
if I
true.
could get a blaster class going here at the range and not have to run any ammo,
Do you want me to teach it like Bill Burr would teach it?
Oh, boy.
absolutely 100%. Could you impersonate your body
You need
double?
to make sure you have the accent, though, or else it's not going to work.
I'll have to watch The Town a couple more times to get that thick Boston accent.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're gonna have to be a little funnier. Just saying.
More than just my
Wow.
look.
Yeah, just a little funnier.
He is
Wow.
pretty dang funny.
Yeah, so what else? What else do you think you can expect?
Before we move on, really quick, if anybody has a connection to Bill Burr, we would love to have him on here because
And
I
if he
think
does it for
Steve has
free?
a few questions. I don't know. I might pitch in to pay for him to come on.
If you guys want to start a GoFundMe,
Yeah,
to get Bill
Or a
Burr.
page-
I'll donate ammunition
Maybe
to
we should-
whoever gets him on the show.
maybe we
Worth
should
more
build
than money, yeah.
a Patreon account so that we.
There you go. Yeah, why not? But yeah, so I was gonna say, what else do you think you can expect coming to the range? Besides, we kind of in the shooting experience now, and
I was really pushing towards laser guns in the range.
if that were the case, we wouldn't
You
be
mean like
having this
Zerk pistols
discussion
or like blasters? Like
No, like blasters
from Star
Nobody's
Wars
legit lasers.
You want to play laser tag in the show in the.
Hey, now.
in the range. You'd be going through targets fast because they'd all be caught on fire.
And then we'd have a range fire, and then the range would be done and over with.
It's got an extinguisher system.
Fire suppression.
Yeah,
system.
There we go.
I remember seeing you on the roof talking about that when this place opened.
That was a while ago.
That was, yeah. It come a long way since then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what else? I think, is that it?
There's got to be more.
We're falling short, and no one.
We got so far in the weeds, we lost complete train of thought.
Well, we were talking about, your skills not being what you remember they are. I think maybe going along with that is just it's you can't shoot as long maybe as you used to be able
Yeah.
to, because I remember taking classes and then the round count goes higher. You kind of have to get used to shooting a certain amount of ammo, and maybe you're one of the blessed few who have ammo to burn.
Yeah.
And you want to blow through 250 rounds. It might be a little more tough than you think.
Yeah. Something else that you might not be used to when you show up to the range is faces that you're not accustomed to. New employees,
People who shaved off their goatees.
Yeah, there's also that. Yeah.
people who grew their facial hair out more. I don't know.
Yeah, because
So
if you haven't been in a year,
And honestly, that could be a real deal breaker, or at least a frustration for some people, is I know we have some pretty steady customers. Steve, if you're listening, not this Steve, but
other Steve.
Yeah, Steve Bagdan. He'll be happy to hear his name on here. But he was really restricted with where he could go because he's on oxygen. So
right.
He can't. I mean, he was super high risk, and so he was in his house, like couldn't do anything. So at some point, he's going to be able to get out of town or out of his house and come hang out. And maybe there's going to be people here or your local gun store that you're like, I don't know who you are. So now you got to start all over building those relationships.
Yeah, those connections might be different because, I mean, if gun stores were closed down or like operating on minimal staff or whatever, you got folks that maybe didn't come back or that found another job or something like that.
And that moved on.
I think that's a really good point. And it could be a double-edged sword where you could, maybe there's somebody there now who you don't know and you have to reconnect with or whatever. But at the same time, that somebody you could forge a even better connection than before.
Man, I come here all the time and I still don't recognize half the people that work here.
It's because you're staring at the holsters all the time.
I just taught a class on the holster department here, and I think I met like 7 new employees.
Well, the class I'm teaching tomorrow is an employee class for basic handgun. And as Sarah and I are teaching the class, she's like, yeah, there could be 3 or there could be like 12. I don't know. I'm like, oh, seriously? I don't know.
Guess we'll just find out when it happens.
There's 12 new people here. I have no idea who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just, you have to go in with an open mind, like it's just a brand new experience again, I think, at the end of the day, and have no expectations. Yeah. I know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and it might not just be the employees that you see. It could be management, that not here, but the store that you're going to. It could be complete management or ownership change.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And policies might be different. Like, there could be a lot of differences when you show up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would maybe suggest calling ahead or looking online on the website to see, because it could be a ton of changes.
Yeah,
like you said, new management, new ownership, new policies for
different
whatever
classes,
reason. Different classes, or like you said, adaptations to an ammo shortage or a gear shortage or something like that. And I think we touched on it a little bit, but I think it's now more important than ever to do research on if you're going to get another firearm or your first firearm, and have a couple of options. Be more open to stuff. And you may not be able to rent guns as easily, just because of the ammo shortage and everything. Or you might not be able to spend as much time with a gun, as you would like.
Yeah.
So do as much research, I think, as you can online, and just be open to maybe having not just like the gun for you, but maybe if you feel you need a firearm, and you don't have the options that you used to, you might have to go with your second, third, or even fourth choice. Yeah. So I would be prepared for that too, which is, unfortunate, but I think it'll bounce back eventually, and you'll be able to get what you want. So
I hope it relaxes a little bit.
Well, I mean, and you look at I don't see why it would be any other way. And the firearm industry still is coming out with new firearms. Yeah. The Smith & Wesson just came out with that M&P Shield Plus, I think, right?
I haven't seen it, actually.
You haven't seen that? Yeah, Nick, have you seen that?
I just had one in the shop, actually, yesterday.
See, there you go. Yeah, Walther came out with their PDP, I think.
Which is getting great reviews, actually.
It is.
So, speaking of that, you said the Smith & Wesson, right?
The Shield Plus.
The Shield Plus. So basically, the only difference in it was it's 13+1 magazine.
Finally.
And they're going to push the extended slide length again, because they came out with the Shield. I don't even know what they called it, but it was an inch longer, and it was before the 48 and before the 365 XL, but they kept the same magazine capacity. So I don't think it ever took off. But I had one in from the performance shop, and it has a flat face trigger, and it was optic cut. It was 13+1 with the flush with the regular mag, plus there was an extended mag. I think it was like 14. And then
not bad.
It's pretty good for a small gun.
So
that's awesome. Yes, Sig kind of forced everybody's hand, because I'm sure that stuff was kind of in the works anyways.
Oh, sure.
But I think when 365 popped out, they're like, "Yep, we better hurry." What's the matter?
Are you okay?
Nick's dying.
Do you need to make a phone call?
Do You need to go potty?
Oh no, I was waiting for that guy to pick this up, and I think
okay.
my phone just died.
Oh, snap.
bummer.
You know, something else that you might not be used to if you haven't shot, at least at our range. I don't know if other ranges' policies are the same, but if you used to rent eye and ear protection, we no longer do that until maybe the stuff gets relaxed because you know, COVID scare, right? We didn't want to be responsible for transferring a killer virus to other people's ears, and so you got to bring your own eyes and ears.
Yeah, that's
or buy it when you're here.
That's a good point.
Which is a great, going back to what we talked about, get yourself some electronic ear protection.
Yes.
Yeah, you should have it anyway. So.
Did you see Walker came out with a new set of ears?
I think you have like 14 different electronic ear protections.
Yes, it's got this little walkie-talkie attachment. It's like a little ear or little...
Oh, like a boom mic kind of thing?
but it's separate.
They also came out with these really cool... they're like ear plugs, but they're not really. They're hearing enhancement for hunting, and they're like bone wave deals. Yeah, they go on they like go around the back of your head, and they go on your jawbone, and they will block out sound. But what they're made for is to enhance your hearing while you're walking through the mountains.
I dig that.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and they're not in ear.
They're just like around the ear? Or?
No, they go on the jawbone right in front of your ears.
Weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah. But stuff like that and new guns coming out makes me relatively optimistic that, you know, the gun industry will bounce back. Things will go back to normal that way. We'll be able to be spoiled for choice for firearms again.
I hope so.
It's just not right now, you know?
Yeah, it needs to get better.
Yeah. But the other thing too, I'll be positive this time.
Yes.
Is that I think that what you may forget and what you may expect or may not expect, but what may happen to you is how friggin' great shooting is. Yes. And how much fun shooting is and how almost like therapeutic it can be.
Yeah, I think it is therapeutic.
You know, because I remember the one time I was going to sell my AK, this was like a year or two ago, and I was like, I'm going to go take it out and shoot it one more time, and that'll be it. And I had so much fun with it, I'm like, I can't sell it. Because you just don't think about it. It's not something you do regularly, and if it's something that you haven't done in a year and it makes you happy and it's fun to do, you may have forgotten how fun and actually entertaining and relaxing it can be. And so I think, you know, maybe think about that. You're like, oh, I'm going to want to do this again. I'm going to want to spend more money on ammo, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, I think you've hit on something actually really important that maybe we have taken for granted, is that it is something that's that can help you relax and to help you defrag. So like a lot of people working from home adds different stresses or more stresses,
right?
Maybe,
yeah.
And that might be something that you should, if you've never shot before, that should be something you might consider.
It's range therapy. It's called that for a reason. Yeah.
Because it really is relaxing. I think it's relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
What do you think, Chelsea?
But you're right. No, I mean, because working from home, I mean, you've got a lot of different distractions. There's a lot going on. I think a lot of people are probably suffering from some sort of cabin fever.
Yeah.
You know, where you haven't left the house or you've maybe gone to the same 3 places or whatever. And, you know, you forget just how relaxing it is, at least for me, is to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
You know, no cell phones, no internet, no email. You know, it's just you and the gun and the target, and you're just focusing on shooting the best that you
Hopefully
can.
Focusing on that front sight.
Focusing on the front sight and instead of the target, and focusing on just how well you can shoot. You know, I think there is a bit of a relaxation to that, especially getting out of the house or doing something different. And I would think that you'd find yourself to be much more relaxed or entertained or like satisfied, content.
Yeah.
You know, because you're doing something you enjoy. And I would say that even if we are paying more for ammo right now, and maybe more than we would ever want to, I think it might still be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, for some people, I think so. Because like you're saying, there's accomplishment or, you know, a level of success when you're hitting a bullseye at 25 yards with a handgun or something. Right. You know, it's good for you.
Yeah.
It's good to be challenged, and is that right? It's good.
Yes.
It's good to be challenged to a level and then meet those challenges and be successful. So,
right.
I mean, that's a metaphor for everything, but it really does work.
And if you're a new gun owner and maybe you've just bought it and left it in the box or left it in like a stop box or a safe or something like that, and you don't have confidence with it, the way to build confidence with it is outside of a class is to shoot it and to just take some time with it, you know, trigger time.
Yeah.
And building that confidence is going to make you feel better and more confident in that firearm with, if heaven forbid you ever do have to use it in a defensive situation, you're going to be better off with that. So
I agree.
I think you want to, remember that shooting is a fun time and it's entertaining, and even if it is a little more expensive, it might do your mind a little good. So, anything else?
Well, I don't think so. Nick had to run real quick for some reason.
Yeah, Nick got bored, so I think he went off to go shoot or something like that. But
maybe someone from Instagram messaged him.
Well, yeah, it could be. He's got to meet somebody. So, but we'll call it an episode for this one. So if there's anything we missed, or maybe you've gone shooting recently and there was something like that threw you off, or that anything like that, let us know. podcast@iishooting.com, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Range Minded Podcast.
Yeah.
So, well, it's good to have you in person, Steve.
It's so nice to be. It's
nice to be in person, and thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Be safe. Take somebody shooting.
Yes, that would also be a good thing to do, is take somebody shooting and share in the joy of it as well. Because honestly, you may if you're a teaching person, you may forget that that's fun too. So
it is fun.
Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Later.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.